Yay! 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 Um, I love that we're picking a new time and a new place to meet because now that I'm working on the weekends, it's harder, and I don't like it being a makeup show. I like it being a real show. So, unless I'm at the Comedy Cellar, there's almost no comedy on Tuesday and or Wednesdays. So we'll know ahead of time if it's Tuesday or Wednesday. But I'll figure it out with producer Stanton. But it's all about what's now and what's next. Talk of Our Times was very specifically about a specific, hi Hector, about a very specific thing: COVID, pandemic, lockdown. And I feel like, although that's still very much a part of our reality, it's kind of the new normal. This is it. Like, this is it for now. Um, People that aren't vaccinated are likely not going to get vaccinated. That's okay, because plenty of people have. And people that didn't want to wear masks aren't wearing them. And they're not enforcing it in my building, even though there's signs up everywhere. I rushed up to be here, totally forgot, didn't have a mask on in the elevator. One of the valets got on. No dirty looks. This is the new normal. This is how we're rolling. I went to apply for rent relief because my landlord asked, because of course he can fairly ask. He'd like to get government money, of course. Guess what? When I signed on for the rent relief website, there is no rent relief because now, at least in California, it's been extended, the protection, until 2022. So, even though I've been paying full rent for a minute. Hi, Tom. So glad you like the hat. It's because I'm getting my hair dyed in the morning. My roots are out of control. Out of control. Like gray roots. I must be very healthy and very happy because even though I got my hair trimmed about a month ago, the gray hair is about that much. So tomorrow I'm getting my hair done. And I had dinner tonight in Beverly Hills, which is why I'm late, with a girlfriend who has been my girlfriend since 1986, May of 86. We became friends. 35 years she's been my friend. And she's a journalist. I mentioned her before on Talk of Our Times. Producer Stanton pulled up a clip of her winning an award. My friend Amy Huggins, she was one of the only women in Tent City who watched Waco go up in flames. Remember Waco? Remember Koresh? She was there. She witnessed the whole thing. She's an amazing journalist. And tonight at dinner, we brought each other to tears several times, talking about William Shatner going into space at 90. That is such a great story. And she said that one of the scientists was asked how they prepare. She and I both love music. It's something we have in common. And they asked one of the scientists, what do they listen to? And he's Canadian. And he said that he listens to Gordon Lightfoot. If You Could Read My Mind, Love. And one of the things that she and I talked about at length at dinner was imprint. How things imprint on us as people. How we have the sort of pressure, you have, I've used this analogy before, but when we were kids, actually in Miami, the zoo, Crandon Park Zoo, which no longer exists, we would pay a quarter and you would have that plastic injected mold that would go, and then it would fill, and then it'd go, and then you'd have in my case, it was a gorilla, and it would fall and then it would cool. And if it was still a little warm, you could stick your thumb. My brother JC, rest in peace, always stuck his thumb, because he was just that kid. He needed to know, like, how strong is it? By the way, I'm going to get close to the camera. I'm not wearing any face makeup. You can see it's a little bit not smooth because I got a facial today. I haven't done that in a COVID. And there's something about masks, and I treated myself for my birthday. It was a belated birthday gift, and it felt so lovely. I've been locked up in my house for so long that to have another human being, even though it was a woman and I was paying her, I know that doesn't sound so good, just kind of massage my face and put masks and rub my neck and tell me that I look nice. It was lovely. I don't want to get too graphic on this, Monique Marvez show, because I have a topic for today and I want to talk about so many things. And we're going to keep these a little tighter. They're not going to be a full hour. But I want to talk about so many things. InterAscension, essentially, is what I want to talk about. And I'm going to tell you what it is, and I'm going to repeat it a million times over the next year, the year that I'm living in this apartment safely, which would have been fine anyway because I'm paying full rent. And then you have another year to catch up with back rent. And I think what's happening with the government, with the world, with us, of course, I'm still doing comedy, Greg. When I say locked up, I mean, I don't have a boyfriend. I haven't been on a date. I haven't had anybody over except my mother. Thank you. My skin is glowing. I feel very good. I've been incredibly happy. I have this one little bubble of melancholy about never being able to see my brother, but I'm a faith-based person, so I know where he is. I'm not worried about it. And I feel him, and I have a million memories and pictures all over the place. Somebody says I'd look nice with gray hair. I think so too, but I'm not ready for it yet. David Minnick, good to see you too. But that being said, other than this little pocket of missing my brother, I'm incredibly joyful. I feel an uptick. And maybe it's my own uptick of my own making. I'm going to explain InterAscension. Okay, and this is the language I use. For like thousands of years, it was dog eat dog. You know, you had the feudal system, and then basically, you know, lords and ladies developed out of the feudal system, and then you were in service, but you had choices. That was Downton Abbey time. And then you had beginning of the end of the last century, beginning of, you know, the 1900s, you had the Industrial Revolution going full force. And people became secretaries, and the phone came out, and you know, you had the Industrial Revolution. And then it went from, you know, dog eat dog to sort of win-win. Like, you have a gas engine and I have a byproduct of kerosene, and now we're going to have cars and we're going to use things, and it's a win-win. It's no longer dog eat dog. The more intelligent, higher vibrating people understood matching agendas. And then towards the end of the last century, we saw a lot of collaboration and the rise of the internet. And even though nobody used this term, I used it on the radio, and I call it win-lift, which is we're better than the sum of our parts. We're going to collaborate. A lot of open source stuff on the internet. And, you know, we're better than the sum of our parts, win-lift. And the new thing, as we all realize that we are responsible for our own destinies, is InterAscension. We rise together. In other words, this is how I see it. And I'm going to make t-shirts, because people make t-shirts of love hard, forgive harder. InterAscension, InterAscension, : and then it'll say, we rise together. You know, as we rise, we create a positive wake. Like a rising tide raises all boats. As we raise our vibrations and our hustles, our side hustles became our front hustles, and somebody explains whether it's blockchain or a better way to save money or a way to accelerate your hustle, then we rise together. InterAscension. We all rise together. We create a wake. We raise each other up. Now, to explain how that works, you're like, I get it, Monique, but how do we do it? Well, this is how we do it. We do it by being source. If you want money, don't be in scarcity brain. Tip a little extra. Round up on your bill at the restaurant. Just a little. But it shows the universe you're not in scarcity. Be source. If you want to be supported, support other people. Meaning, you know, way to go. Glad I saw you do that. Wow. So proud of you. Encourage, encourage, encourage. We become very narcissistic as a society. We think, and social media has most certainly accelerated this. And now they're proving with the whistleblower with Facebook, which is a whole nother story that I'm not going to get into today, that they actually prime the algorithms to create controversy, to create chaos, to fuel fighting, because it keeps people stuck. Information keeps people stuck. And I knew that. I knew it. I saw it. But it brings me such pleasure to have it documented, to absolutely see the absolute proof in writing and emails and leaks that social media was primed to upset you, to keep you stuck, to keep you in scarcity and fear, so that you didn't think you could be source, so that you were afraid, so that for just a split second we went from win-win and win-lift, you know, and InterAscension to dog eat dog, dog eat dog, dog eat dog. Such an old vibration, such an old way of thinking. So before we get back to William Shatner, I love this story, and I'm proud of Fox News for reporting it. Doesn't seem like a Fox News story, but here it is. 4 men, and by men, they're young men. 4 men push elderly woman in broken scooter home in pouring rain. Okay, so these young men were in Florida when Kathy Castro, a public relations representative at the Florida Living Independent Community in Seminole County, Florida, witnessed the kind act and snapped the picture. Now, I don't know if you know this. I'll put this right up here so you can see the boys. I don't know if you know this, but these scooters are super heavy. These rascals, they're about, you know, they're pretty heavy. It's a quiet neighborhood, and these boys were, you know, doing their thing. And all of a sudden, and they're quite young, we noticed the woman was clearly experiencing a malfunction with her mobile scooter, said John Morgan Massa, a corporate general manager at Rebounders Adventure Parks. So these guys actually work at like an amusement park. We were tired, dirty, and wanted to get back to the hotel, but knew without a doubt that regardless of our long day, it certainly wasn't worse than the day this woman was having. Not only did they push her scooter, but they covered her with an umbrella while they were getting drenched. Massa and his colleagues reportedly made a 3/4-mile trek as they carefully pushed the resident while she remained on her scooter. These scooters are heavy. Add the resident's weight, her groceries, and collapsing tires. The sum is a whole workout. So these 4 guys really worked out hard. And I'll show you the last picture. This is them. You know, there we go. And there they are. And they just decided, you know what? Everyday heroes. So the woman who snapped the picture, Castro, said, as a mom of teenagers, I want my children to grow up like these modern heroes, to make a difference each day, no matter the environment. In these rough COVID times, let's demonstrate, not generate, but we can generate too, compassion to one another. Now, I brought you that story because it's a simple little story that somebody witnessed an act of kindness and photographed these 4 boys pushing this incredibly heavy scooter on flat tires in the rain with the resident. She looked a little chubby, with an umbrella over her and her groceries. They could have just stayed on the bus they were on and pretended they didn't see her. But they didn't do that. They jumped off the bus back to that was going to take them back to the hotel after a full day of work on these Rebounders adventures. And they said, nope, we're going to do this. And that's what the Monique Marvez show is going to be about going forward. It's going to be how to accelerate your hustle, how to rise higher faster, how to get out of scarcity brain and get into abundance, how to understand. Producer Stanton's going to show me more about blockchain. And the more I understand, we can learn it together, because I don't understand Bitcoin. But I got news for you. It's all Bitcoin. Let's be honest. How is it that the federal government is fighting over hot school lunches and subsidizing education, and everything's being cut? And then COVID hits and they're just printing money, unemployment checks, and you know, rent gets frozen and blah, blah, blah. So on some level, energetically, metaphysically, it's all Bitcoin. It's all BS. It's whatever we choose to manifest as a society. It's on us to take care of ourselves. It doesn't mean don't vote. It doesn't mean be cynical. I'm not cynical. I'm not jaded. I do the right thing, not because I'm forced to. I didn't pay my full rent for 1 year. I paid 3/4 of my rent, and my rent is quite high. But I told my landlord, I will pay. He asked me, we had a conversation, a very civil conversation, in which I said, what will make you feel heard and respected? And he said, if you cover the HOA and the mortgage the best you can. I said, I'll do better. On the months that I get a little side hustle going with a corporate gig on Zoom, I'll pay you more. I'll pass it on to you. And I did. I was good for my word. Because in order to go forward, in order to do well, in order to make money, I want you to understand currency, energy, vibration, intention is just as important as cash money. It's the same. When you get your head right and you get into abundance brain, then it's going to go. But it's been hard. It's been scary. It's much easier to stay stuck. It's much easier to just shrug your shoulders and wait it out. There's nothing to wait out. This is it. We got to get moving. And more importantly, we got to help others get moving. Because I'm not an altruistic person. I'm on here talking about, the next iteration of win-win and win-lift, and now InterAscension. It's not even just about matching agendas. It's about creating an agenda. It's about creating a thought. This isn't vision boards and forum and Tony Robbins. I'm not talking about that stuff. I'm talking about getting your mind right so that you don't live in fear and scarcity. Because the time we're coming out of was absolutely one of those times, separating the wheat from the chaff. So many people are just stuck. They're really stuck in, what am I going to do now? The place I worked isn't reopening. I don't know what my skills are. I got news for you, boys and girls. Producer Stanton can probably back me up on this. This is it. This is what I do. I'm a comedian. I'm a talker. I'm a conjurer. I'm a positive person. I'm a philosopher. I'm a writer. I'm a poet. But it's all in the same lane. It's just variations of the same thing. Am I a chef? No. Am I a dancer? No. Am I a great driver? Pretty good, because I've driven a lot as a road comic, but I'm not going to be a race car driver. Am I an actress? No. Would I love to be in a movie? Sure. And I've had opportunities, but I got to be honest, the character, probably pretty close to me. Somebody saw me and said, we want a Monique type in our movie. That's how it's going to work. And that's okay. Find out what you're good at. And let's cultivate it together. Let's learn things together. Let's supercharge our hustle. Now, the first thing that I want you to think about to supercharge your own hustle is to think about how much you got to get your mind right. That's right. That's going to be the motto of the Monique Marvez show going forward for the foreseeable future. Get your mind right. Because once you get it right here, then you're in alignment, then everything goes. It's so important. All right. So more stories, because I pulled these because I was like, yeah, this is good stuff. We need to be talking about this. All righty. So we got the 4 men. This was a great story in The Guardian. Capsule. Are you ready for this? Capsule of 1765 air reveals ancient histories hidden under Antarctic ice. When I read the headline, I wasn't even sure what that meant. Polar Zero exhibition in Glasgow features sculpture encasing air extracted from the start of the Industrial Revolution. Now, they say that the Industrial Revolution started in 1765. I'm not sure, just like Cool Hand Luke, get his mind right. I love Cool Hand Luke, Tom Wilson. That's a great movie. So there's an artist. Okay, here's what it looks like. I'm going to get the image. Okay, there's the artist. Now, evidently, you can drill ice caps, and there's actually air that gets caught like an ice cube. Have you ever seen how an ice cube can have a bubble in it? When back in the day when we had ice trays and you would pull the lever, remember that? Before ice makers, remember the old metal trays and you pulled the lever and sometimes the ice had a bubble in it? Well, scientists were able to pull a block of ice in Antarctica with a bubble from 1765, which is what they mark as the exact start of the Industrial Revolution. Okay? Just before modern humanity began its unwitting destruction of the atmosphere, the stark consequences which are now being faced. So this is what they were able to do. As we drill down, we're driving further and further into the past, a bit like counting rings of a tree. What helps is that every so often we know that a certain volcano blew up in a particular year, and we find evidence of that. So using our drills to find a specific year isn't quite as hard as you would imagine. These scientists, when they're drilling down into the ice cap in Antarctica, because of different things in the ice, they can tell what year that happened. Like they can drill down and say, oh, this was Krakatoa, all in the cap. And they have a piece of ice that they took out and put into a refrigerated art exhibit that shows a bubble of air that they can test to see the difference of 1765 air and 2021 air. Crazy. I love that story for a multitude of reasons, but the ability to A, do it, B, figure out that this bubble was from this air was from 1765, and they could preserve it and test it. I mean, talk about the Shroud of Turin. That's pretty amazing to me. I love that story. And these are the things, again, going forward, we're going to talk about interesting things, thought-provoking things, things that make you think about the past in a new way and reframe it to fuel your future. Life is happening for you, not to you. If I sound particularly exuberant, it's because I've absolutely caught some wave, some cosmic alignment is happening in my life, and it's exciting. And I want to share it with you. And I think it's because that cosmic coin dropped and I understood being source. That if I want something, if I want help, I help another person. I look around for people to help. When an opportunity to help falls in my lap, I'm like, yes, not like, oh, what do you want? And how many of us feel that way? What do you want? All right, I love this story. This was really funny. This was on BuzzFeed. Teachers are sharing the things they want their students to know that they'd never tell them in person. All right, so this was really, I'm just going to read you a couple of random ones. Your parents, number one, if you're nice to me and aren't disruptive, I'll always work the numbers in your favor when it comes to post grades. See? Who didn't know that? Teachers, of course, are going to take it into, they're going to take it into consideration if you're a good person, if you're a nice kid. That my students are the reason why I'm second guessing having my own kids. I love this. Your parents are literally the worst part of my job. Your sense of entitlement is most likely acquired from your upbringing. So parent-teacher conferences to discuss your grades aren't going to do S-bomb, when the parents just blame us despite you putting in little to zero effort. Like, teachers got it. Don't think they don't know what's going on. Yes, I put you in a group with the kid you have a crush on intentionally. I'm stuck here with you 180 days a year. I want to see some drama. So yeah, teachers do set situations up. I encourage my worst kids as much or more than my favorites because I don't want them back in my class. See, you think teachers are just mean to kids they don't like. Not this one. One day you're going to come across people who are not being paid to tolerate you. I love that one. And all of a sudden, life is going to become considerably more difficult. You are right. The administration is completely out of touch when it comes to technology. I also work better while listening to music on my phone. So teachers understand. They're not total jerks. They know that you want to hear your headsets and whatnot. I'd like you to get away with so much. I'd like you to get away with so much more if you were actually a decent person who treated others with kindness and respect. let's just say anal apertures. I try not to curse on these shows. So I'm going to say anal aperture. I think you can figure out what the word was. Rarely get the benefit of the doubt or indifference. In other words, if you're that kind of kid, the teacher's looking to take you down. Trying hard is necessary, but not, I love this one, so we'll leave it on this one. Oh, by the way, this is second to last. Yelling F in the hallways doesn't make you a badass. Teachers are yelling F in their heads all day long. I love that one. But this is the one I'm going to leave you with. Trying hard is necessary, but not sufficient for most accomplishments. Again, this is a list of things that teachers wrote when they were anonymously asked, what would you want your students to know that you're thinking? Trying hard is necessary, but not sufficient for most accomplishments. Intelligence is necessary, but not sufficient for most accomplishments. I can't tell the sweet, hardworking, but unintelligent kid he won't be a doctor. I can't tell the smart, but lazy anal aperture he won't be a doctor. Both end up in remedial class and blame being in remedial class on mean teachers labeling them. So it's like, it's up to you. You can be slow and work harder and smarter, do the very best you can, or you can be super smart and lazy. And the other person might end up in a different or better place than you. It's really about intention and getting your head right. That's how you supercharge your hustle. So I'm going to review. And then let's talk about William Shatner. And then I had one kind of interesting story. I want to keep these about 30, 35 minutes. I actually read a story. The Short, Sad Life of Dina Sanichar, the feral boy who inspired the Jungle Book. Dina Sanichar was raised by wolves. I didn't even know there were wolves in India, but there are. You don't think of that subcontinent, the tropics, of having wolves. He was actually hunted because he was all curled up in a ball in front of a cave, and the hunters thought that he was protecting the cave and that he was a lone wolf until they got closer and realized that it was a boy. He's supposedly the inspiration for the original Mowgli. All right. And this is a picture of him between 1889 and 1894. Okay, so that's him. That's him sitting on his hind legs. He did not know he was a person. They found him and they took him to an orphanage where it took them years to get him to walk on his 2 feet. Can you imagine? And to wear clothes. And he never learned how to speak. He was too far gone by the time they got him. But interestingly enough, here's a picture of him. All he ate at the orphanage, they got pants on him. All he ate was raw meat. Can you imagine? They fed him like steak tartare. Okay? And here he is at the end of his life in clothes, looking highly uncomfortable. Look at that face. Does that look like he's happy in clothes? Now, the reason why I bring up this story is because he died at 35. He got a disease. I mean, that was back, you can imagine, in the early 1900s, where people, that's what happened. But I'm going to give you a story of another feral child, because what this talks about, to me, what this speaks of, is how adaptable human beings are. Like, this kid was left out in the wilderness, and somehow, some way, he figured out how to survive among the animals, and they didn't kill him. And you have to wonder, how does a wild animal know that you're a little human and that you're not going to hurt them and they don't have to kill you? Okay? Then there was another feral child, because they couldn't prove all the details of his life. But there was a little girl in Russia in 1990 who lived in a rural village. Her parents threw her out as a baby. They were alcoholics. And she actually survived in Russia. It's cold. Being raised by wolves in the 90s. like 30 years ago. And now she's normal. She can walk, she can speak, and she actually has a boyfriend and works at an, ready for this, animal preserve. I read about her when I was looking up him, because they had like stories of other feral children. Now, I don't know if she's the person that movie Nell with Jodie Foster was based on. She might be Nell. It didn't say that in the article. But if that doesn't show you that human beings are adaptable, that this Mowgli, this Dina Sinichar, had calluses on his elbows and his hands and his knees because he didn't know he could stand up and walk. And yet he survived. And they took him to an orphanage and he figured out how to wear clothes, which was rougher on him than living with the wolves, evidently. We can adapt. Human beings are incredible. Our minds are totally flexible. We can live under almost any circumstances that we choose to, that we have that inside of us. Now, this is the final story of the night, which is the one that Amy Huggins and I were just loving to pieces. And here it is. And many of you already know the story. William Shatner. I'm just going to Google it because it's all over the news today. He's 90 years old. When I was a little girl, William Shatner, space. See Shatner's emotional remarks after landing. The meaning of William Shatner's space flight by Blue Origin. William Shatner is now the oldest person ever to go to space. The most profound experience. Can you imagine that this guy was on a game changer of a show? When I was a little girl, I wasn't allowed to watch a lot of TV. My dad was afraid. They used to call it the idiot box. See, there's nothing new under the sun. Now it's social media and iPads and telephones. When it was my age, it was the TV, the one-eyed goddess, the idiot box. And they worried about kids being stuck in the 60s and 70s to the TV set because it was a big deal. And it went off at midnight or 1 o'clock in the morning. There was a time when there were 3 networks and they signed off at midnight or 1 o'clock and there'd be a flag in black and white. I know I'm aging myself terribly. And they would play the Star Spangled Banner, our anthem. All right? So that was unlike anything they described Shatner could be heard saying on the flight live stream just before landing. So when I was a little girl, as I said, my father and I had TV dates. I was only allowed to watch X amount of shows a week. So I had to pick very carefully. It was Laugh-In on Monday. I'm gonna go, that's a chicken joke. I love Laugh-In. Say goodnight, Dick. Goodnight, Dick. I love Laugh-In. I loved Star Trek, Mutual of Omaha's Wild Kingdom, and The Wonderful World of Walt Disney. And then my swing show, sometimes it was Hee Haw. Believe it or not, the Flintstones and Gilligan's Island were on prime time. Okay? So it depended, which one I was going to watch. And but it was always Laugh-In, Mutual of Omaha's Wild Kingdom, Disney, and Star Trek. Those were my core 4. Space, the final frontier. These are the voyages of the Starship Enterprise. Dun, dun, dun. I never watched the new ones. I never watched Picard. Wasn't interested. I used to know the episodes, The Trouble with Tribbles. It was a great show. And to think that man, that me and my father, rest in peace, and my brother was the biggest nerd in the world, Mr. Comic-Con, to think that man, okay, went into space today at 90. While the team was putting it all together, they were listening to Gordon Lightfoot's If You Could Read My Mind, Love. It was like this confluence of art and beauty and my childhood and everything that matters and everything we need to hold on to going forward. Because people who move people move money. I'm going to repeat that. People who move people move money. So be source. Inspire the people around you. Move them, rock their molecules, say something that's going to get them fired up, and see how your life takes you into outer space. I promise, keep showing up for the Monique Marvez show, and I'm going to keep showing you ways to not just adjust to the new normal, but to thrive, to supercharge your hustle, to make these the best of the rest of your life days. All right. Until next, I'm going to say, for the sake of this discussion, Wednesday. I like Wednesday, hump day. You know, anything can happen. That's Mickey Mouse Club. Wednesday was anything could happen day. So until next time on the Monique Marvez show, love hard, forgive harder, and get as happy as you can, as fast as you can. Bye, guys.